Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, Debunking Mythology. Sattology means science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake lie or imagination. Now, Sattology actually builds your identity, whereas mythology actually destroys your identity. So when we speak about Sattology, we are actually talking about the telling the right history or right version of the history or the accurate version of the history, and we are actually going to give evidence about it. Because without evidence, if you speak something, especially when you talk about the non-fiction categories, then it doesn't make sense unless and until you have evidence for everything. Then it starts making sense. And people ask me the question, where is the evidence? Well, in Mahabharata text, Ramayana text, many things are written, and you can match the current geography with those texts. With the kind of dates which have been given, you can match, you can calculate dates based to up till today, up to the current times. So that speaks that the ancient texts were accurate. Why did the Europeans not understand it? Because Europeans do not understand Sanskrit. They may try hard. They may understand Sanskrit. Sometimes they have political motives to undermine the history of the natives to which they ruled, on which they ruled. And also they have the second drawback which Europeans generally have is that they do not understand the context, because they try to Christianize and everything in terms of understanding from Christian point of view. So they're validating themselves, not others. Like recent cases of Harvard University came out, and there's a book written by one of the recently the book is written on that how the Harvard University peddles mythology to upgrade their profile. Now, the Hindu Studies Department of Harvard University, we all know that the Christian pastors try to translate Ramanujacharya's work and teach and include Christianity in that. So they're like Max Muller Part 2. So this is Harvard University. So if you believe in such prestigious campuses, and I would say that they are no longer prestigious, I would call it the plagiarized institutions, with such a corpus of funds, like almost they have $85 billion endowment fund, Harvard University has, and very rich university, but they were what they were meant to uphold were truth, but now they are meddling in propaganda. A very special guest. He has come on the show many times. So let us welcome Dr. ML Raja.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. And I think your presentation is also on misconceptions. So,
Yes.
so just brief outline. And I spoke with Harvard University with a lot of respect, as well as the recent findings which are coming out now. And I have severe questions of Francis Clooney, who is the dean of the Hindu Studies Department, and he is a pastor. I don't know who made him the dean. And I believe that Harvard University will keep an actual practicing Hindu who is part of a tradition as the dean of the Hindu Studies of Harvard University, not a person who is a pastor, who is Christian and trying to teach Hindu culture. So, what are the misconceptions generally you have, and I'll which you noted down in this one?
First of all, if you read Swami Vivekananda, he will mention that what the Westerners or European American thought during the days of Vivekananda, the people are throwing away child in the river, and also many only India is a land of snakes, like that. But it is totally disproved. See, one cartoon has come in American magazine. America and other people are discussing about the launching of satellites. At the time, a farmer from India, from Buffalo, he come and knocked the door. I will also want to launch. Like that, they criticized India. It is a misconception. It is a wanted misconception that was seeded in the minds of good American people. Basically, American people are very good, but these people, they canvas and they make the good people to understand bad about India. Like that, there are many misconceptions on India. But coming to the history part, the most of the misconceptions is on the history part. Because why they touch the history and education? Because history gives your identity, who you are. your national identity, your spiritual identity, your cultural identity, all can be understood, and you can experience that, you can realize that only if you read our history that is properly written history. Unless if you understand or read history, you cannot identify yourself with the nation or with the culture in which you born. So they want to remove that identity, and they want to create some other identity on Indian people. For that, they first destroyed the history. The most important misconception, I have given 4 speeches, misconceptions and distortions in the Indian history. That is first started by William Jones. He equates Chandragupta with Chandragupta Maurya, and then Chandragupta Maurya with Alexander. That was the starter. Then come to the Aryan invasion. And slowly they mentioned all Purana and Mahabharata were not written. They were written only during Gupta period, whereas Renaissance of Hinduism in 300 AD, like that they mentioned. And Vyasa didn't wrote this much sloka, 1 lakh sloka. Because if you combine Iliad and Odyssey both, it will not be 1/4 of Mahabharata. So to degrade Mahabharata, they told Vyasa composed only 8,800 sloka. Later on, during the Gupta period only, it was added. And there is no writing methodology in India. And how can you say when Vedavyasa narrated Ganesha, Ganapati has written, there is no writing in the ancient period. So it is all myth. So Mahabharata is a myth, Ramayana is a myth, all Purana are myth. Everything your ancient past is myth. It all started with Buddha period only. So you are a defeated race. Always you get defeated by foreigners.
No, the problem
Like
with
that,
the problem with the most Europeans is that they always want to take a position of high seat. I am lecturing you, I'm telling you. Even in the US, they do that all the time. Like you will see
yes.
suddenly a European origin person would like to teach everybody everything. And he himself may not be an expert in anything, but they have a habit of just pretending to be teacher of everyone. No, and I can see that in the golf course. I can see that in the classrooms. See they have a captive audience. Like for example, most of the Christian converted people from Latin America, they follow them like gods. In India also, many Indians follow them like gods, especially in South India. Like they will respect the Europeans, like Europeans speak the truth and everyone else. And there's an English word called the white lies. Don't give white lies. Don't give a white. This is made on them because they will speak lie very confidently. Even in the USA, it happens all the time. Everybody from the European race would like to teach everyone, and except Indians, everybody takes them seriously. Except Chinese and Indians, everybody takes them seriously. Then some of them may be really good, but most of them are just pretending to be bigger than who they are. And I'll let you start your presentation. We will continue. And I can tell you on the Mahabharata shloka evidence. I was doing research for my new book, and Vaishampayan quotes in every chapter. He quotes. So 96,639 shloka in Mahabharata are spoken by Vyasadeva himself. 96,639. Remaining 4,000 are spoken by Vaishampayan, Suta Goswami, Shukdev Goswami as a precursor, as a extra, or give a context to it. So this is the truth about Mahabharata from Mahabharata itself. So I'll let you start now. Thank you.
Okay. Vanakkam, Namaskar, and heartfelt greetings to one and all. I express my thanks to Aditya ji and the volunteers of Sattology, and also the eminent professors, scholars, and beloved students of various universities of United States of America. In this, I going to narrate about what are my thoughts about the misleading misconceptions on India. It is only part 1 part. I have been introduced by Aditya ji. So, misleading misconceptions on India. Part 1 I will going to deal. First about since Aditya ji told that there are 96,000 odd sloka were composed by narrated by Veda Vyasa himself. I will take first that subject, the Mahabharata. First name and the number of verses. Yes, Aditya ji told many Western persons and their followers in India usually commonly believe it is a truth that only 8,800 verses are said to be called as Jaya, and they were composed only 8,800 by Veda Vyasa, and 24,000 verses said to be Bharata, and they were composed by later rishis, maybe Vaishambhayana Maharishi, and 1 lakh verses said to be as Mahabharata, and they said they were composed at a very later period by another rishis, maybe Sauti or Sudha Maharishi, and some say all these 1 lakh verses were composed during the Gupta period. But we have to analyze Mahabharata internal evidence as told by Aditya ji itself. How much true is there in this statement? That we have to analyze. First, we will take Adi Parva, first Adhyaya versus these verses. That Krishna Dvaipayana, another name of Veda Vyasa, told this first, and his Sisya Vaishambhayana retold it to King Parikshit's son, King Janamejaya. After Yudhishthira, Dharma Maharaja, Parikshit became king. After that, Janamejaya became king. At the Sarpa Yajna conducted by King Janamejaya, Vaishambhayana Maharishi told to another rishis, and Lomagarshana Maharishi's son was Ugresara or Sauti Maharishi. He heard it. He was present during that discourse, and after that he traveled throughout India and he went to Naimisaranya, Sauti Maharishi, and there the rishis requested him to narrate Veda Vyasa's Mahabharata. It was mentioned as Veda Vyasa's Mahabharata only in this sloka. And 25 verse mentioned, it is of Veda Vyasa. So it is no doubt the Mahabharata, the author was Veda Vyasa. There is no doubt in it. But the questions are, how many verses Veda Vyasa did compose and what is the name of the text? That we have to analyze. Again, Adi Parva, first Adhyaya, these sloka, 61 to 83, 102 to 104, 173 and 174 clearly answers this internal evidence from Mahabharata. Verses 61 to 87 narrate how Veda Vyasa thought that we have to write Mahabharata fully. So he did tapas at Brahma. Brahma appeared and he asked Veda Vyasa to do tapas at Ganapati. So again, as per advice by the Brahma, Veda Vyasa did tapas to Ganapati for writing the text, and Ganapati appeared. And it was decided by Ganapati and Veda Vyasa that Veda Vyasa will narrate the verses of the Mahabharata and Ganapati would write them. But Ganapati put on condition. This is given in these verses. That Ganapati would write fast. So he will not stop writing even for a while. That much speed will be there in Ganapati's writing. On par with that speed, Veda Vyasa should narrate all the sloka verses. That is a condition put by Ganapati. Is Ganapati writing, Veda Vyasa narrating the Mahabharata history. Okay. But in turn, Veda Vyasa put another condition to Ganapati. That on writing the verses, on writing Mahabharata, you should understand fully even each single word. Without understanding, you should not write a single word. So Ganapati accepted that condition. So they started doing the work. And Veda Vyasa mentioned in this sloka 80, 81, 82 that there are 8,800 verses which myself and Sukha is Veda Vyasa's son, understood well, Veti. But whether Sanjaya, who narrated all the events to Dhritarashtra, whether he understood or not, I cannot tell. And what is these 8,800 verses? That are their Kuta verses. Kuta verses means bristling, intricate, and naughty. Very difficult to understand meaning. That is Guda. These two words are there in this sloka, Buddha, hidden, concealed meaning. Hence, it was very difficult to understand and decipher the meaning. Bathum. Bathum is very difficult. So, even Ganapati had to think for a while, for a chanam, for a little bit time, to understand the hidden and correct meaning before writing. So, when Ganapati's speed is more than the speed of narration of Vedavyasa, Vedavyasa will suddenly narrate one verse with this naughty, buzzle verse with the difficult to understand meaning. So that he will slow down Ganapati's speed. So he will gain some time. So he will narrate few sentences, few verses. Like that it goes on. So whenever Ganapati is fast, Vedavyasa will narrate one Kuta sloka. That is difficult to understand, naughty, puzzling sloka. Like that, there are 8,800 naughty, puzzling verses throughout Mahabharata. So that Vedavyasa no, Suda no, nobody else, we can say that they know. So this is the thing. So Vedavyasa himself called it as a Kuta sloka, Guda sloka, not as Jaya. And he didn't mention that only these verses I have composed. So it is a total misunderstanding of the text and misunderstanding of Vedavyasa. So even Vaisampayana and Saumudi mentioned that Vedavyasa authored. They also didn't mention that Vedavyasa authored only 8,800 verses. And in Adi Parva, first Adhyaya, 101 to 107 verses, it mentions in the 102, 101 and 102, 1 lakh verses, Sada Sakasram, are with additional narrations of incidents along with the main part of the history of Mahabharata. Mahabharatam text, it contains both parts. Main part of the history of Mahabharata, and to explain something, they will add some other incidents that happened in the past. So additional narrations. So Upakyane Saka. Saka means along with. Upakyana, Upakada, additional narrations. So both, if you count, it will be Sada Sakasram, that is 1 lakh verses. So Sada Sakasram tu Nyayam Adyam Bharatam Uttamam. So Adyam, in the foremost period itself, it has 1 lakh verses. Not afterwards verses were added. So this word Adyam is there in 101, 102 sloka. So it clearly totally contradicts the theory that 1 lakh verses were added on later period. And in 24,000 verses are Sadur Vimsadi Sagasri, the main incidents of history without additional narrations. That is Upakyana Vina. Vina means without. Without Upakada or additional explanations, the main incidents consist of 24,000 verses, and whole Mahabharata, both additional narrations and main history, contains 1 lakh verses. So it is clearly mentioned in 102 to 107 sloka. And verses 105 to 107, it is not only limited to 1 lakh verses. It clearly mentioned that the total verses of Mahabharata is 6 million, that is 60 lakhs. Out of 6 million verses, 30 lakhs or 3 million are in Devaloka, abode of God, narrated by Narada, and 1.5 million, 15 lakhs will be in Pitruloka, abode of ancestors who have passed away from earth, and Devala Maharishi narrated to them, and 14 lakhs, 1.4 million were in Gandharva Loka, abode of Gandharva, and Maharishi Shuka narrated to them, and only 1 lakh sloka are in Manushya Loka, that is in our world, human world, and Vaisampayana Maharishi narrated to us. That is the thing it was mentioned. So it is total 60 lakhs. In the world exists only 1 lakh, and all these 1 lakh verses were composed in the earlier initial part itself by Vedavyasa himself. That is the strong and concrete conclusion we arrive from the internal evidence of the Mahabharata. Then the name of the text. Some verses mentioned Jaya in Mahabharatam itself, Bharatam and Mahabharatam. Like that, all three words are interchangeably they are used. And we know there is an era. When I deal about Indian eras in our Sattology, I mentioned Jayapyodaya Yudhishthira Saka. Jaya Udaya. Jaya is another name for Mahabharata. So, in which year this Mahabharata was composed, that became a beginning year of an era. So, that was maybe 1 year after Kali Yuga beginning. But in the concluding verses 173 and 174 of first Adhyaya, because it is a concluding verses, so it has its own value and importance. It mentioned that Mahabharatam Uchyate. Both in 173 and 174, it mentioned Mahabharatam Uchyate. Uchyate, it is mentioned as. So the name of the text, main name is Mahabharatam only. Jaya and Bharatam are additional names. So it is only Mahabharatam. It is not Mahabharata or Mahabharat. You should understand. It is Mahabharatam, neutral gender. Okay. So this is the inference. And Jayabhyudaya Yudhishthira, Saka is mentioned by our great historian of our nation, India, Kota Venkatachalam Garu. In his Indian Eras and Ancient Hindu History Part 1, he contributed much to the Indian history. And Jaya Fleet in Indian Antiquity, Volume 3, he mentioned 2 copper plates. That is one at Sri Sita Rama temple. So in Mahabharata period, at the 89th year of Jayabhyudaya Yudhishthira Saka, that is maybe 90 Kali. So 3000 years before itself, Sita Rama temple was there. In Tungabhadra river, there is a copper plate issued by Janame Jaya. And there is one in North Bharat, one Sri Kedarnath Iswara temple. There is an 89th year of Jayabhyudaya Yudhishthira Saka. That is 90 Kali. So it is 3034 years before copper plate. But many, J.F. Fleet himself mentioned that it is we cannot believe it because the copper plate is very recent and the letters and characters are very recent. But one thing we have to understand, see, these copper plate cannot withstand for more than 5,000 years. So every 300 years or 200 years, they have to copy the main content in the new copper plate. On copying that, they will use only the letters and characters of their period because they don't know ancient period. They can only read, but they cannot write. So in that way, see, in many temples in Tamil Nadu, especially in Tirupati and Kutralam and Tirukodika and Tanjavur, many inscriptions, the inscriptions itself mention that it is a copy of the previous stone inscription because stone has damage or we have to reconstruct the temple. We have re-inscribed the old inscription in a new stone with using recent characters and letters and styles of the language. So that should be understand. This is the basic point, and many historians and epigraphists misunderstood this, and this is an important misconception that based on the character they evolve with the date. That is a wrong thing. You should rely on the date mentioned on that copper plate or inscription. That is an important thing. So it was written by Sri Ganapati himself. Another thing they raised doubt. There is no writing method in India, some 1500 or after Gupta period it may develop. Maybe 1500 or 700 years. How can you say that 5000 years before itself there was writing? So we have to give additional evidence. Along with Mahabharata, already I shown Mahabharata evidence, but I have to give additional evidence to reinforce it. That is Matsya Purana. In the Matsya Purana and the 53rd Adhyaya, 40th Sloka, mentioned that Skanda Purana, after writing it, whoever donates Skanda Purana, after writing it in the Palguna month, that is sun is in Meena zodiac sign, Palguna month. In the Palguna month, one has to write Parilikye, Meena cha Upagati Ravi. Ravi, sun is in Meena zodiac sign. So zodiac sign is there, evidence. So you have to write in Parilikye means you have to write. So writing was there in India at least a few hundred years before Mahabharata period. Minimum of 5,000 or 6,000 years before itself, writing was there in India. It is also a wrong misconception that their writing developed in India during Gupta period. This is another misconception. And the most important misconception is 12 zodiac signs. The ecliptic belt is divided into 12 Rasi, 12 zodiac sign, and 27 etc. What commonly taught in India, these are all borrowed from Greek. during Alexander's invasion or after it. So before that, nobody knows. Only Varahamihira, everybody copied Greek, Aryabhatta, and they borrowed 12 zodiac signs from Greek only. This is an important misconception. But in the Sattology, and our Sattology lecture, Vedic cosmology, I mentioned Rig Veda. Rig Veda Samhita, first Mandalam, 164th, Sukdam 48th and 11th Mandra. I clearly mentioned Dwadasa Pradaya Chakram Ekam. Ek Chakra, one circle has Dwadasa Pradaya. That is 12 arcs. That is 12 Rasi. Clearly mentioned. Strong evidence. Vedic period is much before Greek period. There is no doubt in it. Even in Srimad Ramayana, in Balakanda, the Janma Lagna and the Janma Nakshatra of Sri Rama, Sri Bharata, Sri Satrughna, Sri Lakshmana were given by Valmiki Rishi, like Karkadaga zodiac sign and Meena zodiac sign. So he gave in the name of zodiac sign itself. So even during the period of Ramayana itself, there was the concept of 12 zodiac signs were developed and present. Not developed, it was present. Even before that, it is present. Mahabharatam of Veda Vyasa. See, these people told that during the period of Mahabharata, there is no concept of 12 zodiac signs. So, on deriving the date of Mahabharata, you should not use the concept of zodiac sign. That was the thing taught by many scholars, but it is totally wrong. Even in Mahabharata, 12 zodiac signs are mentioned in Adi Parva, 3rd Adhyaya, 62nd, these sloka, 4 sloka mention 12 zodiac signs. So, Mahabharata, during Mahabharata period itself, the concept of 12 zodiac signs were present and was used by common people. So, Veda Vyasa also used in his text. And Purana, I will just narrate Garuda Purana, Matsya Purana, I have already narrated, Devi Bhagavata Purana, Skanda Purana, Shiva Mahapurana, and Brahmanda Puranam. All these 6 Purana narrate the concept of 12 zodiac signs themselves. So, Veda, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Purana, everything narrates. So, we should not tell that the concept of 12 zodiac signs were not borrowed. We should tell clearly, strongly to the people that they were not borrowed from Greek. It was existed from time immemorial period in India. And in the important thing is, now in 20th century, there is another concept, wrong concept developed. So that is Krita Yuga, Treda Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. This is descending. And there is an ascending order. After Kali Yuga, again ascending Kali Yuga will come, ascending Dwapara, ascending Treda, ascending Krita Yuga. Like that one concept they develop. Where they find out the evidence, I don't know. But in Brahmanda Purana, Krita Yuga will commence after the end of present Kali Yuga, on which date, that is Moon, Sun, and Jupiter, should be in Pushya Nakshatra in one zodiac sign. On that day, Krita Yuga will commence. So, Krita Yuga will commence immediately after the end of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, descending Kali Yuga, after that ascending Kali Yuga is not there. Brahmanda Purana totally contradict that misconceptions that we should understand. So, all these things, that is why 12 zodiac sign developed, that I explained in Indian calendar system 1 and 2 in our Sattology channel. That is our ancestors, Indian ancestors developed the number of revolutions of Earth in 1 year and the synodic revolutions of the moon around Earth in the same period of time, 1 year. If you find out the ratio, it will be 1:2. Based on that only, they developed 12 zodiac signs and 12 months. This I explained in the thing. Now, coming to the another misconception and our confusion in deriving the Mahabharata date. That is day of commencement of Mahabharata war. Month of the war, everybody accepts it is Margashirsha month. However, opinion among the scholars differ whether what is the first day of war. Some people say Amavasya day, that is Sakra Amavasya, because Bhagavan Sri Krishna himself told, Saptamachapi Divasat Amavasya Bhavishyati Sankramo Yujyatam Tasyam Tamahu Sakkara Devatam. So Amavasya going to fall on the 7th day, will be on the 7th day, and on that day we have to join Amavasya with the Yuddha beginning. Sangrama Yuddha. Yujyatam, we have to unite, we have to join. So we have to start the war on that day. And Sakra Devatam. Why he added Sakra Devatam? Sakra means Jeshta Nachatra or Indra. So it is Amavasya falls on Jeshta Nachatra. Indra is the presiding deity of Jeshta Nachatra. Visakha is preceded by Indra and Agni. Indra Agni, not Indra alone. Only Jeshta Nachatra out of 27 Nachatra, it was preceded by Indra. So Indra Nakshatra is Jeshta Nakshatra and Sakra itself means Jeshta Nakshatra. So Amavasya falls on Jeshta Nakshatra. So Sakra Amavasya or Jeshta Amavasya, the other name, should fall on Jeshta Nakshatra. Some scholars are mentioning Sakra Amavasya can happen in Visakha or Anuradha or Jeshta. Only Kartika month Amavasya can happen on Visakha, Anuradha and Jeshta. Sakra Amavasya means Jeshta Amavasya. Jeshta Amavasya means it happens on Jeshta Nakshatra. So it is a wrong understanding. That is one thing. Another person's scholars mention that 1 or 2 days after this Sakra Amavasya, the war has started. And some people, some scholars mention that on the Ekadasi Tithi, that is 11th day after this Sakra Amavasya, after the new moon. Amavasya means new moon. That is in the bright fortnight. On the 11th day after new moon, this war was started. So which one is correct? We have to analyze. This is also based on the internal evidence of Mahabharata. In the Drona Parva, the Adhyaya 179 to 185, if we read clearly, we can understand. So Drona became chief of army of Kaurava on the 11th day of war. 10th day, after 10 days, Bhishma was the chief. Because Bhishma fell on the sharp arrow bed, Drona has to leave. On that day, 11th day, Drona tried to capture Yudhishthira so that war will end. But totally it was miserably failed. On the 12th day, Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna, was killed cunningly by the Kaurava army, the Chakravyuha Pandava. On the 13th day evening, as a retaliation, with the help of miracle of Sri Krishna, Arjuna killed King Jayatratha. He put a vow that before sunset, I will kill Jayatratha as a retaliation to killing of my son. Arjuna, Sri Krishna helped, so on 13th day evening, King Jayatratha was murdered by Arjuna. His Jayatratha is King Sindhu. On the day night, the war night continues. And Karna killed Gadotkacha, the son of Bhima, with Sakti weapon. It was has to be aimed at Arjuna, but Karna, by misthought, he aimed at Gadotkacha, so he wasted that weapon. So Arjuna escaped. On the 14th day, again the war continued, and extended in night also. Hence, only on 13th night and 14th night alone, the war was fought during night. Why in other days, war was not fought in night, and only these 2 days were night fight were there? This we have to find out the answer. First of all, we should understand in Kurukshetra war, it is a wide extended war, more than 10 or 50 kilometers wide area. Second, there was no floodlight, as present day. Floodlight was not there, or other source of illumination was there, not there during the period in night. Only fire torches may be available, but that will not give enough illumination to fight with the enemies, especially aiming and focusing the arrows, and also it is in a wide area. So fire torch cannot be used. That's why they didn't do fight in the night. Maybe other some ethical background may be present in India, but mainly torch is because light, enough light was not there. However, if the nights are of full moon or nights nearer to full moon day, there will be adequate illumination from the full moon or near place of full moon. So on those days, we can try, we can do night fighting. Hence, this 13th and 14th night fight will occur either on full moon day or a day very closer to full moon. That is the conclusion. Because if you close towards new moon, Amavasya, it will be totally dark. We cannot fight in the night. There is no floodlight, there is no fire torches are not visible, there is no other source of illumination. Only source is moon, and that moon will be bright only in the full moon or near full moon. So the 14th, 13th, 14th night should be either full moon day or closer to full moon day. You see, this is, I thank actually author D.C. Ellis and Royal Astronomical and Society of Canada and NASA Astrophysics of Data Center for using this photocopy. You see, 0 degree means is full moon. 150 degree, 180 degree is here, it is new moon, Amavasya, this is Purnima. This is the illumination of earth by moon. If it is in full moon, it is 100%. If it is near Amavasya, new moon, it is 0%. So it is slowly rising. Only when it is in a third or nearer to second day or first day, it will rise highly. So that's why if the night fight is within this area, that is beyond 75. You can say that is second day or first day before or after full moon and full moon day. Only of these 5 days, there will be at least 75% to 100% brightness from light. Beyond that days, other than these 5 days to another 25 days, we cannot do fight. So this shows that 13th and 14th night should be near full moon or full moon day. You can see this is new moon, this is full moon. You see how much brightness will be there, how much brightness will be here. So that is the thing. Suppose if the war started either Amavasya day, the full moon day, 13th or 14th, so it is okay. If the war started 1 or 2 days after this, then the 13th night or 14th night, this will come. So that also okay. Suppose the third opinion is war started on the Ekadasi of 11th day from the new moon, that is bright fortnight. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is the first day of war. So 14th day will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So this much illumination will be there. So the illumination will be here only 5 to less than 10%, 120 degrees. So 5% only illumination will be there. Here it is 75 to 100%. You can different 75% illumination, compare it 5% illumination. So that's why I think either at Amavasya or 1 or 2 days after Amavasya is the correct thing, not Ekadasi day, 11th day. Definitely ruled out because night illumination is not sufficient. And another thing is important thing, Adhyaya 183 verse 65. Why I am saying it is 14th day? Because on the 13th night, Gadotkaja was killed by Karna and Yudhishthira was very upset. Hence, Vedavyasa came to the war field and told Yudhishthira, on the 5th day, the land would be yours. So, on 18th day. So, hence it was 14th day of war. That I said, 14th day, night war. Adhyaya 184 mentioned, on 14th night, the war continued, but there were utter darkness. So, after fighting for some time, in the night of 14th day, people cannot identify who is enemy, who is friend. They cannot aim at arrow because utter darkness. So Arjuna advised to stop war for one muhurta, that is 48 minutes, till moon rises. So war was stopped by 48 minutes and moon raised after 48 minutes. And the rising moon, how it was described with Vedavyasa. Vedavyasa not only this, he is a poet. So how he described excellently. Tataka Kumutanatena. Kumutanata is Chandran, moon. Because when moon rises only, the lily flower, Kumuta, blossoms. So he is the husband or Nata of Kumuta. So Kumutanatena. Netra Anendena. Because it will give coolness and ananda to eyes. Because moonlight will be always cool. Chandrena, Chandra, moon. Kamini Ganda Panduna. So Kamini is a beautiful girl. Ganda means cheek. Panduna, bright, illuminating white color. That Chandra raised, where it raised? Makendri. Makendri means it belongs to Makendra. See, if you do increase the matra of the first letter from short vowel to long vowel, it becomes the progeny or belonging of that person. Vasudeva, his son is Vasudeva. Dasaratha's son is Dasaratha. Janaka's daughter is Janaki. So you have to increase one from short vowel to long vowel. So Indra did compose a Sanskrit grammar that is known as Aindiram. Indra to Aindiram, short vowel to long vowel. So Makendri means that direction. Magendri Dik means that direction belong to Indra, that is eastern direction. In the eastern direction, Vyasa would have told it moon raised, or we can see moon like that. But what he used is a great poet, no? So Alankritam. So this moon decorated the eastern direction. See, moon has to decorate means this type of moon only can decorate, not this type of moon. So he mentioned moon decorated Alankritam, Alankaram, decorated the eastern direction, like Kamini Gantapantini, bright, white, shiny cheek of a beautiful lady. Like that, he is a poet now. So, and in the verse 47, 49, 50, the moon's luster and radiance actually dimmed the bright light, brightly shining stars. Actually, stars were made to be dimmed, to be less visible, because moon's luster and radiance were more. So that also you can see, this moon has no radiance or luster. Only this moon has radiance and luster. And also, moon raised like a lion and was bright, splendid, shining and radiant, Basura. So that is, so definitely shows bright moon. So it is either full moon or near full moon. And another thing he compared, one author mentioned Kumutanathena as a bow of Manmuta. It is entirely wrong. Kumutanatha, Kumuda is a lily flower and his husband is moon. It denotes only moon. And that Manmada's bow will come in the sloka 48. Moon was like the bright body of Nandi of Shiva. Bright body. Like the complete luster and radiance. Purna Samaprabha of the bow and arrow of Manmada. His bow and arrow were not, the shape is not compared. He clearly mentioned, shape is not compared. What is compared? The luster and radiance of that bow, of the Manmada. Complete luster. Purna, that to say, I add a complete. So it is complete radiant bow. So that radiance only compared with the radiance of the moon. And when Manmada came, he is a god of love. There should be some, he has to mention some love or marriage. So Vyasa added, it was like the delightful and charming cheek of a newly wed bride. So Manmada has come now, then there should be love, there should be marriage. So he added another, in the next sentence itself, like the delightful, charming cheek of a newly wed bride. Navavadhu, he mentioned. So it all shows that it is only new moon, full moon or near full moon. And in the verse 51, 52, it definitely ruled out any moon face nearer to Amavasya or new moon. See, Kam Cha Chitim Tata Sarva Disaha. So the moon illuminated brightly all the directions, Sarva Disa. And Kam means sky. And Chitim, earth. So earth, sky and all directions were brightly illuminated by moon. So it is definitely full moon or near full moon. And it dispelled the darkness by its luminary brightness. Verse 49. And this world was, it is an important sloka. The world was illuminated by the moon like a day, like a day. Pradi Prakasite. It is an important scientific way. Prakasa means illuminating. Prati Prakasa means it is not his own. He borrowed from somebody else and illuminating, shining. So moon got his illumination, brightness and shining because of the sunlight falling on the surface of the moon. So he mentioned science also. Vyasa. Prati Prakasite Loke Diva Bhute. Diva Abhute. Diva means daylight, day. So like a day, Loke, whole earth were immolated like a day by the moon. So you can see only these 5 moon can make the night as a day, not these moons. So it totally ruled out Ekadasi, 11th day, first day war. So thus, and another important point is, so it is nearer to full moon, either after full moon or before full moon, just 1 or 2 days. Which day we have to fix? That for that also Drona Parva helps. We have to analyze that moon rise was after sunset. It mentioned it because sun already set, so there is darkness. Twilight also get gone, so darkness. So these people fought for some time in the darkness. So that means sun already had set, and twilight also gone. And after a period of time, some time of war in darkness, and after one muhurta, that 48 nights and minutes, then only moon rises. They slept during that one muhurta, then and there on the war field itself. So after these 4 incidents only, moon raised. So you can compare how moon will rise in various places. Moon will rise on the new moon day, that is Amavasya day, along with the sun. When the sun rises in the east in 6 a.m., moon also will rise and set along with the sun in the 6 p.m. And in the next day, the moon rise will be delayed by about 48 minutes. That is, if the sun rises by 6 a.m., moon will rise will be 6:48 a.m. Like that, it will delay. On the new full moon day, exact opposite thing happens. So when the sun rises in the east, moon actually, when the sun rises, moon will set in the east, and when the sun set in the west, moon will rise. Opposite thing. Moon will rise exactly at the time of sunset in the west, and setting of the moon occurs exactly at the time of sunrise, 6 a.m. So daytime was illuminated by sun, and night time was illuminated by moon. Exactly 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. sun, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. moon. So that is the full moon day. Here also, after day passes, every day the moon rise will be delayed by 48 minutes. Suppose on the full moon day, if the moon rises by 6 p.m., on the next day it will rise by 6:48 p.m. So the dark fortnight only, in the dark fortnight only, the moon rises after the sunset. Here the moon rises after sunset, after twilight, after a period of time of war, and after a muhurta of sleep. So it is definitely on the 14th day of war is in dark fortnight, not before full moon or at the full moon, either first day or second day after full moon. That is the conclusion based on this description by Vedavyasa. So thus 3 points to be satisfied. The moon will be bright, illuminating the earth sky all directions like a daytime, and it should rise after sunset, after twilight, after fight, after sleep, and it should be dark fortnight. So these things should be satisfied. All these 3 things will be satisfied only on one thing, that is either Prathama Tithi or Dvitiya Tithi, first day or second day of the new moon, that is Paurnami. Mainly second day, because we need 7:30. How I mentioned. See, on the Dvitiya Tithi, sun will set at by 15 p.m. because it is Margasirsa month, and sun's declination is minus 20 degrees south. Kurukshetra latitude is plus 30 degrees north, and moon's latitude will be plus 25 degrees north. So sunset will be much earlier, 5:15 p.m. and twilight will go by 5:45 p.m. So for 1 hour, the army fight up to 6:45 p.m. So 1 hour dark fight was there. They cannot continue fight, so they took rest for one muhurta, and after 48 minutes, that is after 7:30 or 7:33, the moon will rise. So on the Dvitiya Tithi, it exactly fit with the description of the Vedavyasa. Here all the 3 points are satisfied. But on Amavasya day, I told the 14th day of war will be on full moon day. So there is no sunset after, there is no twilight has gone at 6 p.m. So there is no darkness, there is no late moon rise. So it is totally ruled out. And the beginning of war at Ekadasi, I have already told. See, on Ekadasi day, this will be the this is a waning phase, the illumination will be less than 5%. So persons cannot fight. And also another thing is, on the 14th day of war will be 10th or 11th day from full moon. So every day moon rays will be delayed by 48 minutes. So 10 into 48 means at least 8 hours. So after 2 a.m. only. So no army cannot fight in the dark for continuously for 8 hours. At the maximum, they can fight for half an hour, 45 minutes, at the maximum 1 hour, not beyond that. So that also ruled out this Ekadasi beginning. And also on 10th and 11th phase of the waning cycle, the brightness of the moon will not be sufficient to illuminate the earth. You can see on the full moon day how the illumination, even the branches of the trees are visible, but on the 11th day the moon will be like this. Even the sky is not illuminated, the sky is illuminated, so the buildings are not illuminated. How can they do fighting in this case? They can fight here. That is the thing. So coming to the next important thing is Arundhati Vasishta phenomena. Why I have taken up this means, I have written a book on Mahabharata date. I have narrated 26 events, astronomical events, and based on that, I came to a conclusion that Mahabharata date was on 3143 BC. But many persons, even scholars who read that book, they passed a comment on me. You are not included Arundhati Vasishta phenomenon in your book. So it is not a complete thing. So you are not completely examined. You have some deficit in that. Like that, they passed a comment. Many scholars, even ordinary persons want explanation. So it is my duty to give explanation. For that purpose only I am narrating this. First of all, why I am not included means, I strongly believe it is not astronomical phenomenon at all. It is only a ritual phenomenon. What evidence I am saying for that? Evidence number one, I have gone through all the ancient Indian astronomical texts, including Mahabharata or any text, Purana, Ramayana. In no place the velocity of the revolution of the Arundhati and Vasishta was not mentioned at all. Only thing, the velocity of whole of Saptarishi Mandala, where Arundhati Vasishta is there, is mentioned. That is 13 degree 20 minutes, 1 nakshatra in 100 years. This is for time calculation. For example, Kali Yuga Rajavrittanta mentioned and Purana mentioned that Saptarishi was in Magha constellation when Mahabharata war was fought and Parikshit was the king and Yudhishthira was the king. After 27 nakshatra, it was in the same Magha nakshatra. At that time, Andhra Sadhavagana was ruling. So for that period calculation only, they are used Saptarishi Mandala, not for astrological purposes, to predict any woman or bad woman or good time. So no astronomical text mentioned the velocity. What is the speciality of Indian text is, Indian text will give the statistics data, what is needed for the betterment of the human beings. It will not give all details. It is a practical approach of everything. If a thing affects the life of human beings, other living beings, or Mother Nature, that will be given. Otherwise, it will not be given. So when the velocity of revolution of Arundhati and Vasishta was not given, it means it will not affect human beings. So because practical. See, for example, in Indian astronomy, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto were not mentioned. In my book in Vana Sastra, I explained, because of their tidal force and gravitational force very, very minimal, less than 5% or even 1%. So it cannot affect human beings at Earth. So they are not included in the Navagraha. So that is the practical approach of Indian texts. So because they have not mentioned, so the velocity of revolution of Arundhati and Vasishta, it definitely means that it will not affect human beings. And so that verse mentioned Arundhati Vasishta is not denoting the Alkar and Mizor star, but it denotes the Arundhati and Vasishta, the husband and wife. That is my strong belief and conclusion. Why I concluded like that? See, for example, I will give Srimad Ramayana here as an example. In the Aranya Kandam, it mentions Sri Rama, Mata Sita, and Sri Lakshmana met Agastya Maharishi and his disciples at Agastya Hermitage. So Agastya was a living personality during Ramayana. And in Kishkinda Kandam, it clearly mentioned, Sugriva clearly mentioned to this, Tasya Asinam. Asina means who is sitting. Nagasyagre, that is at the Malayasaya, that is at the Malaya hilltop. Who is sitting? Agastyam, Rishi Sattamam. So Agastya is sitting on the top of the Malaya hill, and you met him, you get a blessing from him. After that, Anujata Prasanena, after getting a consent, permission, who give permission with happiness, Prasanena, from the Agastya Rishi, you have to proceed and you have to cross Tamraparani. So Tamraparani is south of Malaya Hill in Tirunelveli district. It is almost 9-degree latitude of 9-degree latitude from north of center Rekha of Bhumadhya Rekha, equator. And in Yuddha Kandam, it mentioned that Agastya in person came to Yuddha Bhumi, war place, and he taught Sri Rama Aditya. So these three things mentioned clearly, so clearly, that Agastya was a living person. But some scholars mention, when Sugriva mentioned that it is Agastya is a Agastya star, Canopus star in the southern hemisphere. So the Ramayana was happened around 12,000 BC. So that is not, at the time the Canopus was a pole star. But here Agastya is a living person. We cannot take it as star. Because he mentioned Asani, Anujnata Prasanena, met Agastya and disciples. In person, he taught Sri Rama Aditya Kutyam. So it doesn't denote star. It denotes a living historical personality, living human being. In the same way only, in this loka, Arundhati and Vashishta mentioned is living personalities, human beings, rishis, rishi patnis, not at all star. That is my conclusion. See, this is the thing I have explained. See, in that, even Vyasa clearly explained, they are human beings, living beings only I meant. See, what Vyasa wrote, Arundhati is a Pavitra, devoted wife, is a human being, and she can only be celebrated, Visruta in 3 words, and by rishis. Star cannot be celebrated in 3 words by rishis. In that sloka, who was celebrated by 3 words and rishis, that Arundhati made Vashishta behind her. That is the sloka. So the celebration is for a human being only, not for star. Here, star is a symbol, and in the present day, we cannot meet Arundhati as a living personality. So bridegroom shows Arundhati star as a symbol denoting Arundhati, not the star. Arundhati, the wife of Vyasa, in marriage functions in India, thereby inculcating the high and good qualities of Arundhati in the bride. That's why bridegroom shows Arundhati star. Arundhati star is a symbol, is a sign representing Arundhati's qualities. Arundhati representing Arundhati. So we cannot take it. Arundhati star is celebrated, only Arundhati is celebrated in the 3 words. Vyasa clearly mentioned that. Through Alkar star, the Arundhati star, the bride worshipped Arundhati and inculcated the high qualities of Arundhati, the wife of Vashishta within her. Thus, through Alkar star, the couple worship Arundhati, who is the wife of Vashishta. It is not anything to do with the Alkar star. See, when we go to temple and we worship idol, we are not worshipping an idol, but through idol we worship Vishnu, Shiva. We are not worshipping idol. It is a stone. But through that, we are worshipping God. So, through that Alkar star, we are worshipping Arundhati. We are inculcating the good qualities of the Arundhati. Good qualities rest with the Arundhati only, not with the star. So, we are worshipping Arundhati. The whole world is celebrating Arundhati. In this sloka, Arundhati means the wife of Vasishtha, not the star. So Alkar was accompanying always Misa. Arundhati mentioned in Anushasana Parva in this sloka, I always accompany my husband Vasishta. So because Alkar is also accompanying Misa, Arundhati's quality where they have seen there. So they named that Alkar and Mizar as Arundhati and Vasishta in the Saptarishi Mandala. Because Alkar is always with the Mizar. Arundhati is also with Vasishta. So on that comparison only, Alkar star was named as Arundhati. It is not Arundhati. It is a star. So these two stars are the symbols and signs that make us to remember Arundhati and Vasishta, the wife and husband. Thus, the celebration is for Arundhati only, the wife of Vasishta, not for the star. Thus, it was Arundhati only celebrated by three worlds and sadhu because of her high qualities and chastity, not the Arundhati star. If Vedavyasa wanted to donate Arundhati star, what he would have written? He would have mentioned that adjectives like the stars in the Saptarishi Mandala are bright, luminous, or dull star, or location of these two stars, or the direction and time of their visibility. This would have added in the first line of the sloka. But what he added? He added the adjectives of the Arundhati, wife of Vasishta, who was celebrated in the three worlds and by rishis. So this is adjective and the qualities fit only to the living being and not to the star. In Bhishma Parva, second and third adhyaya, we can see Vedavyasa clearly distinguished all astronomical phenomena and other ritual phenomena. For example, Vedavyasa mentioned the graha, yes, graha, or some other adjective. See, for example, Samvatsara Stayino. That means the graha which stay in a zodiac sign for 1 year or more than 1 year. So he added adjective only for the Jupiter and Saturn. Brihaspati is a Devaguru. If he is a Devaguru, this adjective is not fit for Devaguru. It fit with only Jupiter. And this adjective will fit with only Sanaichara. Whenever he mentions Sanaichara, Sanaichara means who is going slow. This certain, the revolution is very slow, 30 years more, nearly 30 years to complete 360. Like that, he added adjectives to declassify which one is astronomical, which one is not astronomical. In Arundhati, he added only celebration, not the adjective to a star. That we know. In everywhere, if you say Jupiter, it afflicted Shravana Nakshatra, Rohini, like that, the zodiac sign will be added along with Brihaspati. So we can understand Brihaspati is Graha only, planet only, not the Devaguru. Another thing is, in this loga, some misconception is there. Somebody says this Brihaspati and Sanaichara are comets, born from Jupiter and Saturn. Here, Vedavyasa clearly mentioned Graho, the dual form, Graha. So he has not mentioned Dhumaketu or Ketu. So totally wrong indication. Suppose if the comets born out of Brihaspati, what he would have wrote? Bharugaspati. Sanaichara, Mandi, Mandan, Mandi. Already I explained. Dasarada, Dasarati. Janakan, Janaki. Indran, Aindiram. Like that, the long vowels would have used. So you have to understand Sanskrit grammar. Then only we can understand what it meant correctly. So Arundhati, who is praised and celebrated in the three worlds by Sadhu, this adjective definitely fit with the living being and not at all star. So that's why I have not included. So why this Vedavyasa mentioned Arundhati walking in front of Vasishta? What is that meaning? He made Vasishta to be behind her. What is that meaning? That also I have to explain. Otherwise, I will be incomplete. So I can give evidence. Srimad Ramayana in Ayodhya Kanda. Sita Prustat. That is an important slogan. So, initial phase of Vanavasa, Bharata came to forest to request Sri Rama to return to Ayodhya, and Bharata also told with much grief and sorrow that Dasharatha, their father, had passed away. So everybody was very much shocked and full of sorrow. But they have to Rama and Lakshmana and Sita has to do last rites. That is Antima Karya, Pitru Karya to Dasaratha. They are living at the bank of Mandakini River. So Rama asked Lakshmana to prepare things to do Pitru Karya. And what he instructed Lakshmana, that is important. Sita Prastha. Sita should go first. Then Lakshmana should follow. And last Sri Rama would come. Yes, it is the procedure to be adopted in these hard times of doing last rites. Sudaruna Gati Yesa. This is the way we got to do Pitru Karya. So in Pitru Karya, ladies should go first. Then gents. Why Lakshmana second? Because Dasaratha is a father. For father's last son as the first right. For mother, first son. So that is why Lakshmana followed immediately and Rama last. That we should understand. It is an important thing. In Mahabharata also, after the war was over, when they want to do last rites at Ganga River, it was the ladies, Purustriya, who proceeded first and did first Pitru Karya. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is also narrated here. What it is? Krishna, Draupadi, Prusakritya Striya, that is ladies and Krishna, Draupadi, Pruskurat, they first proceeded to Ganga. So always for Pitru Karya, ladies should go first, gents should follow behind. That is the procedure. Even in Tamil Nadu, in many states, which family and society in Hindus who are following rituals correctly, strictly, on performing Pitru Karya, wife leads first, followed by husband. In marriage, husband will go first and wife will follow. But in Pitru Karya, wife should go first. So what Vedavyasa warned Dhritarashtra was, even the Arundhati, the great characterful wife of Vasishtha, worshipped in all the three worlds and by Sadhu for her chastity, has to walk in front of Vasishtha, which symbolically meant that ladies should walk in front of their husbands only one time when there was a death and Pitru Karya. So if the war broke out, there will be a lot of death and there will be more Pitru or Antima Divas Karya. So you should avoid war. That is the meaning of that sloka. So Arundhati Vasishtha is only a ritual phenomenon and not at all astronomical phenomenon. That is a strong conclusion. Even if the derivation of Mahabharata war is based on Arundhati Vasishtha, it has many inherent defects because it is based on precision of equinox. Precision of equinox, the value today itself, many scholars, Lekhiri won't give, Raman won't give, value differs. There is no consensus among scholars. The velocity also differs much between years. So the value, present day value is itself questionable and velocity will also vary, but we are applying it to the period of Mahabharata. During the period of Mahabharata, even Mahabharata or any other text didn't mention, conspicuously absent, the value of precision and velocity of precision. So we are kept in dark. So we are only assuming the same velocity will be there in Mahabharata period. This value can be converted there. So it is only an assumption. So this derivation of date is based on only assumption and not at all based on evidence. And Surya Siddhanta mentioned oscillation of equinox. That I explained already. So if it is an oscillation of equinox, this precision equinox and other derivation is totally wrong. And on deriving the date, if you use one software, the Arundhati walking in front of that star, walking in front of Vasishtha star, the period will be vary. If you do some other software which is upgraded, even in that book itself it was given, the number of years and the years beginning and ending will vary. So in future, if any other updated software is released, the chances of change of the year of Mahabharata war based on Arundhati Vasishtha phenomenon will be much. It will also vary. Then the range for Arundhati Vasishtha 11,000 BC to 4,500 BC, as per that software. So Arundhati walked in front of Vashishta 11,000 BC. So what the date they presumed 5,500 around that. So there is a 5,500 years gap. The cause which caused a bad effect, it occurred 5,500 years before, and the effect came 5,500 years after. The cause and effect difference is 5,500 years. It is not at all acceptable. And the veracity of the software, now present day software, for more than 5,000 of years past, we have to deal it carefully. It may be absolutely correct for the present period or near future or near past, but not absolutely correct. There may be many error if you go thousands and thousands of years backwards. That also we think. So because of that only, I didn't consider Arundhati Vashishta, that sloka, to derive Mahabharata war, because I strongly believe, I have already explained, that it denotes only a ritual phenomenon, not an astronomical phenomenon. That's why I am not included. And another two important thing, with that I will close. Veracity of the astronomy softwares in fixing the year of Mahabharata. I am not blaming the astronomy software. It will be correct in near future or present day or even in near past. But they are using precision of equinox. That's ayana, with precision. But Mahabharatam mentioned all planetary positions, occurrence of eclipses in Nirayana without considering precision. So if you want to calculate the planetary position, first from Mahabharatam Nirayana position of the planet has to convert it into Sayana. And we have to do calculations. Again from Sayana to Nirayana. So for that we need what is the value of the precision and velocity of the precision. I already explained, even present day the value, many scholars mention differently. There is no consensus. And the velocity, it will vary from today to 10th year or 100th year, very much. So we cannot extend it to Mahabharata period. We don't know the value and velocity of precision during Mahabharata period. No ancient text mentioned it. So it's a great disadvantage to us. So we cannot, based on software, we cannot go back to Mahabharata period because we don't know the value and velocity of the precision. That is the thing. So we cannot use this software. What alternate? We have to convert Nirayana to Nirayana. All Indian astronomical texts do calculations, astronomical mathematical calculations based on Nirayana only. So they have mentioned all the trigonometric, mathematical and astronomical calculations. So based on that, if you go from Nirayana to Nirayana, we need not bother about what is the value and velocity of the precision. So it will give correct result. That is the thing. And another thing, most important thing is, we cannot fix Mahabharata date based on astronomy alone, because planet and satellite revolve around in an elliptical circular orbit like this. So a planet here, it will occur again, that position will repeat. So for example, Saturn position, if present in this year, it is here. After 29.45 year, again it comes. Jupiter, if it is here, after 11.86 years, it will come. Jupiter, Saturn, if they are here, they will come after 60 years. Again, Jupiter and Saturn combined in the same zodiac sign. That is the 60-year cycle, Jupiter cycle, and 60 years name in India. Hence, the positions of planets and satellites and occurrence of lunar and solar eclipse will repeat in a particular period of time. It may vary from 500 years to 5,000 years. It is all depends on permutations and combinations. So if you apply astronomy alone, if all the astronomical events are satisfied at a date 2000 common era, just 22 years before, will you take that Mahabharata war occurred in 2000 common era 22 years back? Definitely not. Though there astronomically it is correct, but in realistic it is wrong. So based on astronomy alone, we cannot decide Mahabharata date. So we need inscriptions. There are more than 700 inscriptions which show the date of Kali Yuga, in which year it began, directly and indirectly related to Mahabharata throughout India, and even an inscription 2000 Kali, that is 3100 years before inscriptions were there. You can refer my talk. Prestige. I am very honored by Adityaji and Sattology. My first talk in Sattology was in 3100 BCE. When did Kali Yuga begin? At that, I have narrated 436 inscriptions. I didn't forget that pleasant moment on various eras. That also I dealt in our Sattology, and chronology of Pandava, Ikshvaku, Magadha dynasty, detailed in Purana, ancient texts. That also I dealt in our Sattology, and archaeology. These are all the other important scientific field along with astronomy. Astronomy is also important, but I am saying it cannot be fixed based on astronomy alone. It is an important pillar. Along with inscription, various eras, chronology, archaeology, we have to fix. Unfortunately, in archaeology, much work was not done in India. Now, slowly it is picking up in Sinoli and Mainpuri in Uttar Pradesh. Copper weapons and horse-driven chariots were found out. They dated before 2000 BCE. And in Tamil Nadu, in Kanjipuram, there is a Vadakupattu. There is an excavation by Archaeological Survey of India. The date varies from 4000 BCE to 12,000 BCE. This is much before my Mahabharata date. So full report is awaited. So archaeology also favoring Mahabharata date around 3100 BCE 3 to 3150 BCE only. So in this way, we have to analyze. All these things should be taken care of, and we have to fix the Mahabharata date. So on concluding, in the first part, I have narrated what is the misconceptions on Veda Vyasa's text of Mahabharata and the derivation of the year of Mahabharata war. That I explained all the misconceptions. In the second part, I will analyze the misconceptions that were webbed around Surya Siddhanta, Aryabhatta, the kings Chandragupta Maurya, Ashoka, Vikramaditya, Salivagana, and Gupta dynasty, and the most important thing, Yavana, what is its meaning, and the falsehood of Aryan invasion theory. Though I dealt it in 4 lectures in Sattology, in our Sattology, I will just briefly mention what are all the important misconceptions in the second part. With that, I conclude. I once again thank Adityaji and volunteers of Sattology, and also the professors, scholars, and beloved students of various universities of United States of America. Nandri, Dhanyavadaga. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And like just to add to the number of shloka in each parva written by Vyasdev himself, 18,
Okay.
18,
I will
18,
also learn.
18 adhyaya of Mahabharata.
18 parva.
18 parva, okay? And 100,000 shloka given to Manushya by Vaishampayan. Vaishampayan spoke them to Janmaje. And 6 million, 60 lakh were total created, which you were right, because it mentioned in the beginning of Mahabharata itself. Adi
1
Parva,
lakh to Manushya Loka.
Manushya Loka only. So, Adika Parva, 8,884. Everyone can write it down, whosoever is writing. Is written by Vyasdev himself. 227 Adhyaya, 8,884 shloka. Spoken by Vyasdev, written by Ganesh.
Sabha
Parva 78 Adhyaya, 2,511 shloka. One Parva 269 Adhyaya, 11,664 shloka. Virat Parva 67 Adhyaya, 2,050 shloka. Udyog Parva 186 Adhyaya, 6,698 shloka. Bhishma Parva 117 Adhyaya, 5,884 shloka. Drona Parva 170 Adhyaya, 8,909 shloka. Karna Parva 69 Adhyaya, 4,964 shloka. Bhim Parva 59 Adhyaya, 3,220 shloka. Soptik Parva 18 Adhyaya, 870 shloka. Stri Parva 27 Adhyaya, 775 shloka. Shanti Parva 339 Adhyaya, 14,732 shloka. Anushasan Parva 146 Adhyaya, 8,000 shloka. Ashwamedhik Parva 300 Adhyaya, 3,320 shloka. Ashram Vasik Parva 42 Adhyaya, 1,506 shloka. 1506. Mausal Parva 8 Adhyaya, 320 shloka. Mahaprasthanic Parva 3 Adhyaya 123 shloka. Swarga Parva 5 Adhyaya 209 shloka. And Harivansh is also included in the Mahabharata according to Vaishampayan. It's called Khila Parva. It's called special 19th Khila Parva. That is 12,000 shloka. Total Vyasdev wrote. These are the shlokas written, spoken by Vyasdev, written by Ganesh. Harivansha is also written by him. Vyasdev total wrote for Manushya 96,639 shloka. Doesn't include the talks of Vaishampayan with Janmajay. That is separate. Doesn't include the talks of Narad Muni's conversations. So if you add everything, it comes out to be exactly 100,000. So,
Yes.
so people who said 8,800, people who said, so for all the Western scholars and the Indologists who follow the Western scholars, this is the account of Vaishampayan. And Vaishampayan for Bhagavad Gita says 745 shloka, not 700. And so there are certain things, the 700 shloka which are available. There are certain other things you have to include also, include into Mahabharata, which is missed out. So I also calculated that. So so exactly if you look at it, then 100, this is the division of 100,000 shloka. Remaining we do not know because 30 lakh were going to Devaloka, 15 lakh were going to Pitraloka, 14 lakh were going to Yaksha, Rakshas and Gandharva, 14 lakh. So remaining only 100,000 came to this earth, and everyone had a different guru also. So people who say that Vyasdev did not write it or later on write it, this is the account when Mahabharata was written. Okay. And
Yes.
in addition to that, Vyasdev with his own pen, he wrote, wrote 18,000 shloka of Bhagavad Puran. That is the only Puran written by Vyasdev. Rest all Puran were written by his disciples, and Vyasdev edited all of them. Means he was sitting or listening. Even when Vaishampayan was speaking to Janamajaya, Vyasdev was in the audience, because a guru always checks his disciple. Nowadays nobody wants a guru, or everybody wants a guru, but they don't want to follow guru because the guru is a fashion symbol. Like, I have a guru. A guru is not a fashion symbol, nor is a consultant, nor is a person who is there to please you. Guru is a person who is supposed to be heavy on you. If a guru is light on you, that means he's not a guru, or you are not a proper disciple, because he's scared you'll go away. A guru is not scared whether you come or go away. It doesn't matter to him. So the point is, the all these misconceptions are spread by Europeans and Indians who follow Europeans. So I call Indians more racist than Europeans because they value the white skin more than anyone else. Europeans feeling good about themselves as superior is a problem for them. But Indians feeling superior about the white race or brown, whatever they call it, I don't believe in skin color. So that means they are more racist than the other people. And that is a problem, because that's why the Fair and Lovely is sold so much in India. That's a problem. It's a racist mindset. So don't blame others for racism when you practice racism yourself. So the thank you for sharing the presentation, and I wish I wanted to bring it out, because this is the exact count which is there, and since it's recorded, people can copy it, verify it, and count it. I give the homework, count it, and I have counted it. So I'm telling you, I have counted everything. So whatever Vaishampayan said, I did not just believe him. I wanted to do my own discovery. I counted every single thing. Just imagine how much time it took to count it. It took me 8 days to count it. And that too, I was doing 3-4 hours of counting, because I missed out one shloka there. And then again, I would go back. So it is all in my new book also. So you can check it out over there. So do not say, now the first shloka of most of the parva is Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udi Rayet. Now Jaya word, Sanskrit word Jaya. Jaya refers to all glories of Vedic Itihas, not just Mahabharata. So Jaya is used in Bhagavad Puran, Jaya is used in Vishnu Puran, Jaya is used in Narad Puran, Jaya is used in all the Upanishad, including Yajnavalkya. When he writes the Taittiriya Upanishad, he writes over there Jaya. Jaya means Itihas. That's why we say Jaya, whatever Nara we do, Jaya means On the Vedic authority, I'm glorifying him. That's the meaning of Jaya. So the whole thing, just saying, some people they said, and I did not include 150 shloka before this, spoken by Vyasdev to Shukdev Goswami, to his own son. And he also gave the training of Bhagavad Puran to his own son, Shukdev Goswami. But 150 shloka, he told him in very concise form to Shukdev Goswami, which I have not included here in this count. I have included only Vaishampayan's definition of Mahabharata. And the people do not know even the meaning of Mahabharata. The meaning of Mahabharata is a book of heavy instructions. Mahabharat means a book which will change your life. So that is, Mahabharata is not the history of greater India. That is again a misconception of Western European. We are still following the European model. So instead of blaming Europeans for racism, we should blame ourselves for racism, for believing in stupid people, foolish people. So I'm only talking about the historians. So don't take my word, because most of the historians have done a very bad work in trying to promote Europe over others. So they created a narrative, but they did not ever thought that social media will come one day. So the truth will come out. So today, social media has helped us in speaking freely about the truths. So thank you so much, Dr. Raja, for coming on the show. And thank you very much for all the viewers. And I will, if anyone wants it, dissection of Valmiki Ramayana, let me know, because I believe in numbers and I play with the numbers. So I have done a numbered analysis of Valmiki Ramayana also. I can prove to you that Uttarkand is as much part of Ramayana as these shlokas are. Uttarkand, without Uttarkand, Balyakand doesn't make sense. So you're only left to other kands, only 5 kand left. So people who who believe that Uttarkand is separate, written separately, have a talk with me. I'll talk to you. 500 sarga, 24,000 shloka. And if you remove Uttarkand, you have to remove Balkand also, only 12,000 left. So just think about it. So thank you so much, Dr. Raja, for coming on the show. Thank you all the viewers for watching it. And those of you who were interested in knowing more, let me know, ask Dr. Raja or me, and comment on the show. Thank you. Namaste.